All right. Welcome back to the Waiting All Day for Sunday Night Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Shantz, alongside my co-host, Alex Frank. We're back at it again on a Tuesday afternoon. That was a
wait. Did you say Tuesday did you say Tuesday, Chase? Do you know what tonight is?
What is tonight?
Do you hear this?
Yeah. One of the greatest theme songs known to man is back after over 8,000 days of its absence in the 2000s. I mean, last time you saw a game played on NBC was June of 2002 in the NBA, and the NBA is back. But, we'll have a bunch of time to watch NBA games after that. But with it being an NFL show, I'm excited to talk about what happened week 7, but also very excited tonight for NBA opening night. Alex, I know you're having a pretty good day, especially playing that music. What's going on with you?
Basketball is home on NBC, Chase. Oh, this is a great day. It's a beautiful day outside. I wore a flannel shirt today to Scott Satterfield's press conference. I got this piece of bling here.
There we go.
I worked hard this weekend in Louisville, Kentucky. Good city, by the way. And the Louisville Cardinals won on Friday night against the number 2 team in the country, so we don't have to hear how good Miami, Florida is anymore. But I'm doing good. It was a good week of football, NFL, week 7, last night, 2 games, Monday Night Football, what could be the final doubleheader for Monday Night Football on ESPN in their history. But nonetheless, we're sitting here today, and I've got 3 words for you, Chase, 3 words. Robert Saleh, flowers.
Yeah, again, they gave up 10 points to the Falcons. The Niners won 20-10 on Sunday Night Football. Mac Jones got another W under his belt. They rode the coattails of Christian McCaffrey, but also, as you mentioned, flowers given to Robert Saleh and his defense. And you kind of had to probably look up on a roster and a depth chart to see who is exactly on this Niners defense without Nick Bosa, without Fred Warner, etc. You got guys filling in right there. It's like a revolving door, but guess what? The Niners are getting the job done. They're 5-2. They don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have other stars on the defensive side of the football. Brandon Ayuk, who knows where he's at this point? George Kittle just came back, and pretty much he was blocking the entire game. I don't even think he had a catch. But I will say, they're finding ways to win. Kyle Shanahan's got these guys ready to go, and you got a second head coach on the defensive side of the ball who's got a bouquet of flowers with Robert Saleh. The Niners are doing a great job at 5-2 with all the stuff that's going on and the chaos. With under chaos, they're controlled, and the Niners are leading the NFC West.
Christian McCaffrey, 24 carries, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions for 72 yards. He was their leading rusher and receiver in this game. How crazy is that? He was also the leading rusher and receiver for the game. So it's remarkable what they're doing. Every single year I keep hearing, oh, is this going to be what gets Kyle Shanahan fired? Oh, is this what's going to be his downfall? Just stop, people. Seriously. Why can't we give him the credit he deserves? Why can't we give Robert Saleh the credit he deserves? The 49ers starting lineup defensively in this game is as follows. Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, Mykel Williams. He was a good draft pick for them. Sam Okwa Yinonu, I should be pronouncing that right. Sorry if I'm not. D. Winters, Tatum Bethune, Luke Gifford, Bernardo Green, Diamador Lenore, Marquez Siegel, and Jair Brown. Who the hell are these guys?
Really? It's crazy to think, man. But again, Saleh's got these guys running around to the football regardless of who it is. And again, with an NFL roster, you're not like college where you have just 4 stars and 5 stars like a perennial power in college football just sitting there waiting in the wings. You got to go out there and get guys from your practice squad. You got to get guys from other practice squads. You got to sign some free agents, some guys that don't really have a whole lot of NFL experience that are sitting low on that depth chart. But guess what? They're getting valuable experience and playing time, and they're helping out this Niners defense.
Well, this is what the Niners have done since Kyle Shanahan got there in 2017. They've drafted well. They've signed free agents well. They've traded well. McCaffrey was a trade back in 2022. And if you want to put into perspective, what the 49ers are doing right now is why it's so impressive. Okay, and why I say this, Kyle Shanahan has never been given enough credit for what he's done in San Francisco. So we all remember he took over in 2017, the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, his first 2 seasons didn't go well. But you have to remember the 49ers, prior to his arrival, were 2-14 in 2016. So from 2003 through 2016, they had, wait for this, Chase, 3 winning seasons and 13 seasons. All right? This is the San Francisco 49ers we're talking about here. This is the same organization that won 5 Super Bowls in a 14-year span, became the first franchise in NFL history to win 5 Super Bowls. And they had 3 winning seasons in 13 seasons. With Kyle Shanahan, they're 5-2 right now. They have 4 winning seasons, 4 NFC Championship game appearances, 2 Super Bowl berths. And you want to say, well, when is he going to be fired? When does not being able to win the big one is enough? Hasn't he won the big one? Didn't he lead the 49ers from a 17-point deficit at halftime in the NFC Championship just 2 years ago?
See, and the big question is this: who can you find out there on the open market that's better than Kyle Shanahan? Nobody. There's your answer.
By the way, the team he left, he was their offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. You know how many times they made the playoffs since he's been gone?
Once.
Oh, funny how that is.
Yeah. So again, I mean, all the whatever talk that there is right now about Kyle Shanahan fire, one, it shouldn't be happening right now, and 2, who you're going to get better on the market right now? There's nobody. There's nobody. So exactly. Again, I mean that's a tough NFC West that they've got right there. I mean, they got 3 teams that are at 5-2, them, the Rams, and the Seahawks. I mean, it is a tough bunch right there. A 3-team race that is going to be filled with a lot of jabs and a knockout punch later on in the season. So those Week 18 games are going to be battles. And I'm not going to say don't count out the Cardinals, because I'm not saying that the Cardinals are in it and stuff like that. But the Cardinals could play spoiler for one of those teams down the stretch if they don't lock into an NFC West division game. So just keep that in mind. Week 7, it's everything. That was a big win for them. The Falcons, on the flip side, it would have been really nice for them to get a victory, considering what happened with Tampa Bay on Monday night. Again, the Bucs lost the Lions. The Lions were able to dominate that game. Obviously the Bucs have their own issues that came from that. Are we panicking on them? I'm not necessarily panicking, but at the same time, Mike Evans being injured, that is huge. But it's kind of like tying in 2 games together, your main Monday Night Football game and your Sunday Night Football game. If the Falcons would have won, there would have been a lot more pressure on this Buccaneers team, and we would be saying, okay, the Falcons are legit, even though they would have said, okay, they beat a Mac Jones-led football team. It's more than that. It's great coaching that they would have took down. There were some questionable decisions of why they took Bijan Robinson out of the game in some situations when their coach, Raheem Morris, called him the best player in the game. And Zach Robinson takes him out in critical situations. Something's not adding up right there.
It's not adding up, but I think you have to remember that they were playing on a short week after winning a huge game against Buffalo on Monday Night Football, and they're traveling out to the West Coast. You have to remember that when you get punched in the mouth by the 49ers for a team that still is searching for that experience and that signature win in the Atlanta Falcons, this was a more difficult task than we thought. But at the same time, my goodness, you couldn't move the ball against this defense with a bunch of no-name players. Now, I'm not trying to take away anything from Robert Saleh and this 49ers defense, but when I look at this box score and I see that Bijan Robinson, who we all were so in on going into this game, and most of the league was, 14 carries, 40 yards. He has 6 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, so he does have 92 total yards. Not bad, but not great either. And then Michael Penix Jr., twice in this game, the Falcons had opportunities to, at the end of the first half, score at least a field goal. You cannot take an intentional grounding there. I don't care if this is only his 9th career start in the NFL. He has to know not to throw the ball out of bounds where there's no receiver in the area, or at the very least, run to the left and then throw it out of bounds. Then you're fine. You can't throw from the pocket. And then 4th and 1, you can't get the ball to Drake London, or better yet, hand it off to Bijan Robinson, or, wait for it, Tyler Algier, who you were very in on last week. Zach Robinson, we keep wanting to buy in on him, but then he has performances like this that make you think, how good is this team really, and how good of a offensive coordinator is he really?
Well, and you have the thing of embarrassment of riches. Sometimes you have too many weapons that, someone gets phased out, but you can't have your best player on your roster get phased out. I mean, we'll talk about the Bengals from Thursday. They definitely did not phase out their best player. I'll say that. But again, we'll get to it in a moment. But look, What was the thing was, if Michael Penix Jr. doesn't make that critical turnover right before halftime, it's not like, okay, he's played in, nearly double-digit NFL games at this point in his career. He played a lot of years of college football. He played a handful of years in college. I know there were some injuries and everything else, but that doesn't excuse the fact that in situational football that you got to get out of the pocket, try to make a throw. You got to throw it at somebody's feet, whatever the situation may be. That's points. In a game where points were premium, if the Falcons even would have got 3, they would have been trying to fight on that last drive to try to score a game-tying touchdown. And even in the fourth quarter, they would have been tied. And the thing would have been a little bit different. Your defense plays with a little bit more edge when the game's tied, or you score a touchdown in that situation. Your defense plays with their ears pinned back, trying to get a stop. It is so critical. Especially the 2-minute stuff right before the halftime. You have to be able to try to execute, especially when you're literally down by the goal line. You can't have that stuff bite you in the tail. And it bit the Falcons right in their hind tails, and now they're 3-3, and they're sitting a game and a half back behind the Bucs when it could have been a half game back.
Yeah, and then I think we all would be saying, you know what? Mike Evans out. Atlanta just beat Buffalo and San Francisco. They've got a shot to run them down in the division. Now, the good news is Atlanta's schedule coming up is pretty manageable. If they can get to – they have 6 games in between when they play or in between Sunday night and when they play at Tampa Bay Week 15 on Thursday Night Football. If they can be 7-6 or 8-5, they're going to have a real chance, I think, to at least make the playoffs. But in this NFC, even in the NFC South, which is better than it's been in recent seasons, I don't know if the math adds up. But let's go to a division that is not as good as we thought it was going to be this season. And now all of a sudden, the Cincinnati Bengals have a shot in this division?
They do. Yeah, they do. They do. I mean,
the division, Chase, what is this?
I had a talk with somebody, one of my friends, and so it's a group chat, okay? And a friend of mine that's a Bengals fan brought up, he was like, man, if Joe Flacco plays pretty similar to this and we're able to get some wins down the stretch, I mean, we'll be able to compete in this, in the division. And then I had another friend, I believe he's a Broncos fan. He switches teams all the time. So that says enough about this person. But he goes on ahead and he was like, that's debatable. I'm like, did you not see what happened on Thursday night? Like, we talked post game? I'm like, did you not watch any of the game? Don't get me wrong. The Bengals defense still has a lot of things they need to figure out. All right. They have a lot of stuff. Again, you're playing against Aaron Rodgers. I get that. I'm not trying to say it's an excuse or anything, but again, a guy that was proclaimed the baddest man on the football field, that's something. But I got to say this, the Bengals coming up, they take on a potential Tyrod Taylor. And then they play Caleb Williams, who's playing pretty good football right now, and the Bears are rolling. A bye week.
You can't take Taylor lightly either.
You can't. You can't take any of these guys lightly. Again, I don't care what the Jets' record is, but that's a different conversation later on in the week. But I just got to say this. I mean, if the Bengals can get that confidence going and Joe Flacco can continue to stay on a heater and stay in rhythm, find his playmakers, get the run game going like the Bengals actually got, which Ace Brown rushed for over 100 yards, averaging nearly 10 yards a carry. Yeah, I mean, if they could be a fully functioning offense, I mean, they're going to be in every single game at this rate, But the big thing for me is it opens the door for the Bengals. I'm not going to say it opens the door for the Browns, but no, it doesn't. But again, I mean, it opens the door for everybody in the division. We just got to put it simple, okay? Because the Bengals are 3-4, the Browns are 2-5. Say what you want about them if you want. They've got a very good defense. I know they're playing the Patriots this Sunday. But then a conversation that you might not want to have is the Ravens. We don't know what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson if he's going to come back this week. We have no clue. And to say the least, I mean, the Bears are an opponent that you can't take lightly anymore. You just can't. So if the Ravens slip up down the stretch, any of these games that slip up down the stretch, they pretty much could take themselves out of it. And then if the Browns, with the schedule that they've got coming up, especially against New England this coming Sunday, it puts them in an interesting spot as they could have 6 losses. And the Bengals need to take care of business this Sunday against the Jets and keep that confidence going from Thursday night. And I think the thing that we look at, I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling on right now, Alex, I'll pass it to you. But guess what? We can agree on this. The city of Cincinnati needed that win desperately, and they delivered.
They delivered. Zach Taylor delivered. He called an excellent game. I think you and I can agree on that. Joe Flacco delivered a hell of a game. 31 of 47, 342, and 3 touchdowns. He's been here 2 weeks. He's been here 2 weeks. Chase, here's the thing, okay? Here's the biggest 2 things for me. And we can talk about the game we want. By the way, anyone who says Ja'Marr Chase is not the best wide receiver in football, if you know, you know. Sorry, you're delusional, and you clearly did not watch Thursday night. Ja'Marr Chase has 58 receptions through 7 games, and how many quarterbacks does he play with? Oh, let's see, 3.
Yeah.
That is insane. And it's like, you know, the ball is going to Ja'Marr Chase, and he still catches 16 passes. By the way, when you're me mentioned in the same breath as Randy Moss and Jerry Rice, clearly you're elite.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that? He technically had, I know obviously he had the start of the Jaguars game with Burrow. Burrow was a starting quarterback, and yes, he had 165 yards that game. 3 different quarterbacks where he had over 100 yards.
Come on. That's a good transition. That's a good transition. Because the fourth quarter of the Lions game, when he has 2 touchdowns, and Jake Browning finally realized to throw the ball to Ja'Marr Chase, it would have been so Bengals for them to say, well, we saw some good things in the fourth quarter. Maybe Jake Browning's coming along. We'll turn around. We're not going to waste Ja'Marr Chase's prime, a year of his prime like that. We're going to go do something that we don't normally do because we believe we can still win with this team and in this AFC, and we believe Joe Burrow can come back. We want him to come back when we are in the thick of the playoff race in the AFC North race. We're going to go get Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl MVP. They don't normally do this. It didn't look good in the first half against Green Bay. It was okay. Second half, we saw some things. You saw the attitude change in Ja'Marr Chase. You saw him think, okay, we have a chance. And what do great players do? They take advantage of any positivity they get. If you want to trash talk and gritty on Ja'Marr Chase, go right ahead because the bad man was Ja'Marr Chase Thursday night. And here's the best thing about this too, okay? Joe Flacco is an asset that Joe Burrow has never had. Joe Burrow in the quarterback room has had guys like Brandon Allen and Jake Browning. Those guys aren't going to help him. Joe Flacco's seen everything in this league, Chase. He's been around since 2008. How old were you in 2008? 5 years old? I was 10 years old, okay? I was in 4th grade. All right, your Sunday Night Football streak started in 2008 for crying out loud. Joe Burrow can learn from Joe Flacco, not just about football, but how to handle his fame, how to handle popularity, okay? Joe Flacco went to Disney World after he won the Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. Joe Burrow's never had this. This could be the turning point of Joe Burrow in his Bengals career. It's like he didn't know he needed this. And the Bengals front office said, Zach, we're going to give you this quarterback so you can still function. And we're going to give this quarterback for Joe Burrow to learn from. This could be the turning point we never knew we needed as Bengals fans and for the Bengals.
And talk about the function. Joe Flacco was digging the unction. Look, let me just say this. All right.
Run.
Let me just say in this. So the thing, I think my favorite thing of the night was when Joe Flacco on the postgame show was talking about how the Steelers, so obviously for some reason they're like, okay, they're leaving, they're playing zone or they're playing man and they're just letting Ja'Marr Chase do whatever he wants. Well, Ja'Marr Chase is able to create so many different mismatches and opportunities. And then guess what? Cue in the second fiddle, who's really a number 1 fiddle on most teams, is T. Higgins. But here's what I loved. I loved when they ran bracket coverage on 3rd down, and Joe Flacco mentioned, you know what? We talked about this in the huddle. We talked about this before the game. If they play bracket coverage on Ja'Marr and they play bracket coverage on T, that seam route turned into a post route that pushes to the middle of the field is going to be wide open. And when he got to the line of scrimmage, he even said it. I realized it. They're playing bracket. This play call is going to work. I just got to create this throw. Got to step in there, stay a little bit of time. I'm going to get hit. But guess what? I'm going to deliver that throw, and I'm going to put it in a perfect spot. And Andre Yoshivas, who dropped a couple of passes over the course of that Packers game and a couple in the Steelers game, was able to make that big-time catch toward the end of the 3rd quarter, and it ended up capping off in a Flacco to Noah Fant touchdown pass. But I'll tell you that was my favorite part of this entire thing because, like you mentioned, Joe Flacco has seen every defense, and he has these guys on the outside in Ja'Marr and T who are so special that he sees the bracket coverage and he's like, you know what? I know my guy's going to be right there. I've seen this before. I've played Mike Tomlin before. That Steelers defense. I just got to put this thing in a good spot. And then my receivers got to come down and make a play. It happened. It was huge. And the Bengals won. 7 of 8 drives they scored after starting off 10-0. Amazing.
Well, and you want to talk about Noah Fant, 4 for 44 and a touchdown, 3 for 49 for Andre Yoshivas. And by the way, anybody tells you the Bengals were wrong to pay Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins, shut your mouth. Seriously, okay? Because T. Higgins, two things at the end of the game. The slide after the catch, such a smart play. Right? Oh, yeah. T. Higgins is so unselfish, he doesn't even get enough credit for it, okay? And that's a fault of us, okay? And we need to do better at that. And then how about, by the way, I turned to my mother and sister were sitting behind me at the Bengals game, at the game Thursday, before Aaron Rodgers' Hail Mary, and I said, there is no one else, or I should say, this is the worst person I want to see throw a Hail Mary pass right now, because Aaron Rodgers has done it so many times in his career. The fact that he got that ball from the 30-yard line all the way to the end zone is incredible. But
41.
DJ Ivey, just get to the ball, knock it down. That's exactly what he did. The end of game situations by the Bengals against the Steelers was so good. And when you look at the past history of the Bengals against the Steelers, it wasn't. This time it was. One more thing real quick. An underrated storyline of Thursday night. There is still a mutual love between Andrew Whitworth and the Cincinnati Bengals. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, it is. And another thing I want to mention before we transition, we're going to hop around to some of these games on Sunday. But
just you wait.
But I'll tell you this. It was interesting to see that. Honestly, I think I lost my point. I mean, that's the thing. I lost my point, which is crazy. But again, I'm just glad the Bengals won. That's the thing. I'm glad the Bengals won. That's all I really care about. But
yeah, same here. But you want to talk about losing a point, or 2 points, if you will. All right, I got to bring up my cousin Ryan here because he said last week on our live show that the game he was most looking forward to was the Giants and the Broncos. And speaking of losing your point, the Giants kicker, who, by the way, has since been released, it cost the Giants 2 points. And that's just the start of what was I didn't know how to describe this game. Ryan, start us off, because I don't think Chase and I have the words to describe it right now.
The Broncos came out just like a turd. They scored 0 points in 3 quarters. They were losing, I believe it was 16 or 19-0 after 3 quarters. And then the Broncos scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. It was one of the craziest finishes in NFL history. And yes, NFL history, I will say that. No team has ever scored that many points to come back from that many points in the fourth quarter in NFL history, according to the Scott Van Pelt show on ESPN. I think, maybe the first 3 quarters weren't that exciting, but the fourth quarter made up for everything, and it probably made up the best finish of the year.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was incredible. I mean, I was monitoring this game the entire time, and I was like, you know what? I picked the Giants to win. I'm like, you know what? I think these guys got something. I think it's going to be an interesting, look at the Giants. Here they are. And that's what it looked like for 3 quarters. And then, the Broncos spot 33. So, I mean, there's it's crazy to look at, but I mean, wow. I just monitoring it. I'm like, okay, it's 19-0. Okay, now it's 26-8. Oh, it's 26-22. The Giants are losing. So, I mean, it just happened. It happened so quickly that you have that multi-view on for NFL Sunday Ticket, and you're watching all these games. You're like, okay, what are the Colts doing, man? Okay, the Cowboys are really rolling right now. That Packers and Cardinals game, and then you just keep kind of glancing back and forth, like, the Broncos scored a touchdown. Oh, the Broncos scored. The Broncos are winning. And then you just take the multi-view off. You click on there, and you're like, what is Kevin Harlan and Trent Green are in the booth losing their minds right now, rightfully so. But that game literally came down to the exact last second, the last grain of sand that was in the hourglass. And boy, was that a treat.
Okay, so if you look at this box score here, first downs, Giants 26, Broncos 25. Rushing yards, Denver led 142-119. Each team had 2 rushing touchdowns. Jackson Dart had 283 passing yards. Bo Nix had 279. Total yards, 407 for Denver, 387 for the Giants. Time of possession, 30-11 for the Giants, 29-49 for the Broncos. That's about as evenly matched of a game as you can get. It was decided by 1 point. The Giants had a turnover and 2 missed extra points. So if you want to say, and what's interesting, Chase, is I thought about this today. We talked about last week, we don't know what the Denver Broncos are. Maybe they're just a very resilient team that finds ways to win games. And the fact they've only lost 2 games on game-winning field goals, one of which the Colts missed, but the Broncos had a leverage penalty, which gave them a 15-yarder closer field goal. So essentially, the Broncos could be 6-1 or 7-0 right now. Maybe they are a better team than we thought.
Yeah, that's the world. I mean, it's an any given Sunday league. Every game is its own entity, and I mean, chaos happens every single week. So
it's chaos.
The Broncos have been able to manage that through the first 7 games and win 5.
Well, just wait till their upcoming schedule. Ryan, final thoughts on this crazy game that you picked as your game of the week last week.
Well, you saw the Giants and Broncos both had tipped balls that resulted in touchdowns. Let's start with Theo Johnson for the Giants. He went off in the first 3 quarters. Actually, all 4 quarters. He had a touchdown in the fourth quarter, also a crazy touchdown in that quarter. And they had the 40-yard touchdown, and it was either the second or third quarter to take the Giants up by a big amount of points. But then you see Bo Nix have a crazy touchdown to, I believe it was Franklin after the bobble by I think it was Cortland Sutton to Troy Franklin, the back of the end zone for the touchdown. And then Jackson Dart, a rookie quarterback, his 3rd or 4th game of the NFL, just a really, really unfortunate pick right there. Reminded me a little bit of the C.J. Strouding in Cincinnati in his first season. If you remember that, I believe it was like week 9.
Oh, that's from
2023 season.
Yeah, the guy who made that pick has been benched since.
Yeah, Cam Taylor-Britt made that pick. But the thing with this, Denver actually responded and they won that game. That was a great win by Denver. You got to give all the credit in the world. Sean Payton, a little bit of smoke after the game towards Russell Wilson.
That was interesting. I
did not hear this.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, talking about they wish they would have started Dart a little later after their game, meaning that they wanted Russ to be in there starting. But Russell Wilson went on Twitter and had some words to say, a little Bounty Gate stuff. It's interesting, but that was a heck of a game. Transitioning to 1 o'clock, there wasn't much at 1 o'clock. That's the thing. I mean, the Chiefs dominated, the Browns dominated, the Patriots dominated, the Panthers won a stalemate of a 13-6 game against the Jets.
Yeah, that guy.
The Bears took care of business. The Eagles are fine. You know, Carson Wentz really stunk up the joint against his former team. It feels like the Eagles are always on some sort of a cusp, even though, I think a lot of the narrative are people in their own city that are putting them under pressure.
That's
Philly is a very passionate market, but they're also a very cutthroat market. So when you put those two things together, you get chaos. Maybe not as much as Dallas for the D and drama, but you get chaos. And Philly was able to come through and win 28-22. So that was a big win for them.
Well, when Devontae Smith has 9 for 183 and a touchdown, and A.J. Brown has 4 for 121 and 2 touchdowns, Jalen Hurts 19-23, 326, 3 touchdowns. Okay, their running game, hasn't gotten going. Saquon Barkley had a long season last year. Drew Brees brought this up today on First Take. I was listening, and he's like, Saquon Barkley coming off a 2,000-yard season. They won the Super Bowl last year, so they were, everybody sang their praises in the offseason. They're exhausted because they're getting every team's best shot every week. Maybe they just need to come out and try something different. And oh, by the way, they have 2 wide receivers who, like the Bengals, they've invested a lot of money in them. Look what they did on Sunday. So
yeah, exactly. And
that was the only good 1 o'clock game. I guess the Dolphins had a players-only meeting and maybe forgot to show up to the game.
Probably forgot to show up to the game, and it carried over into the game. And then they said, you know what, let's move this thing out of the range, go to the locker room and end the game early. But I mean, it's
embarrassing.
It's tough to look at, but yeah. And then that early morning game, the Rams and Jaguars. Whew! I mean, wow. The Rams. They have the thing called BTA, belt to ass. Man, the Rams really did that to the Jaguars.
Okay, but Jacksonville had 87 more total yards than the Rams did. And they also outrushed them, and Trevor Lawrence had 114 more passing yards than Matthew Stafford did. But you look at I was looking through the box score of this game, the Jaguars' possessions. Punt. Okay, that's not good. Missed field goal. Downs. 2 punts, touchdown, downs. Should we be that concerned about the Jaguars?
The big thing I'm concerned about is the 13 penalties. That's the reason why. Those drives were great, but they moved them back. I mean, 119 yards costed in penalties is unbelievable. They're 0 for 2 in the red zone, while the Rams were 4 for 4 in the red zone.
Yeah, so that's a big thing too.
Those little things can play a long way. And obviously, was the game as bad as 35-7? No, I don't think it was. But and obviously those international games, weird things can happen. We know. But yeah, I mean, it's really weird to just look at that kind of stuff. I mean, the Rams had one more drive than the Jags. Yards per play, the Jags averaged a little bit more. It was just one of those odd games. And the Rams also had 7 sacks. So
Yeah, you have to give the Rams a ton of credit for what they've done the last 2 weeks.
yeah.
Tough loss to the 49ers. Everybody was kind of down on them. They go into Baltimore, hold them to 3 points. They stay in Baltimore, arrive in London the day before the game, and beat the Jaguars convincingly. I saw someone on Twitter say that the Rams are always ahead of things in the NFL. It showed with their approach to this international game. They deserve a ton of credit. And Puka Nacua didn't even play on Sunday, and they still look good offensively.
And they got a bye week, so that's going to be big for them. I mean, they get a rest. But I got to ask you this question, Alex.
Go ahead.
Are the Colts the best team in the NFL?
They're the best story in the NFL, and they're no longer just a good story. They are really good. You go into Los Angeles. I don't care if the Chargers are in, they haven't looked good the last 4 weeks, but you go in there and you beat a team by 14 points. Jonathan Taylor's running the ball well, 3 rushing touchdowns. They have a deep receiving core. Tyler Warren was a home run of a draft pick in the first round. Yes. I think we all could have seen that coming. Yeah. Michael Pittman Jr. is underrated. Alec Pierce is a good possession receiver. You find a way to put up 401 total yards. You don't turn the ball over. You take the Chargers' best shot. Justin Herbert at 420 yards. Keenan Allen had 119. Oronde Gadsden the second at 164. You take the Chargers' best shot. They have so many starters coming back on defense, and they found a way the Colts. This game was 38-17 late in the third quarter. The Indianapolis Colts have an identity. I don't know why anybody thought. I literally heard this on ESPN radio in late June. Someone said the Colts were going to be the worst team in the NFL this season. I completely disagree with that because they have a solid roster. Lou Anarumo, I was thinking about this. Why is it working in Indianapolis when it was in Cincinnati the last 2 seasons? Sometimes you just need to change the scenery. And you know what? Good for him. The Colts are 6-1. They're running away with this AFC South. They're 2 games up on Jacksonville. Houston looks terrible right now. And the Titans, well, they never had a chance anyway. So the Colts, they might be the best team in the NFL, Chase. But I have to counter with a rebuttal. Anyone who wrote off the Kansas City Chiefs, please come forward.
That's a game in November, by the way. That's 1 o'clock on CBS. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't know where that package is going to look at because I'm pretty sure Fox has it, but Fox has the doubleheader. So easily a Nance Romo game if it can't be flexed. I'll put that there. There's some great games that are coming up in the flex period for Monday night, whatever. We've got all that stuff coming up when we get to November. But I got to say, I mean, you're looking at the Colts. Again, they have an identity. Lou Anarumo, change of scenery is huge. I think just downright, I think the Colts defense just has better players than the Bengals defense did last year. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson's the leader in sacks and everything else, but I mean, the Colts have DeForest Buckner on their defensive line. Mm-hmm. They like Laiatu Latu as an edge rusher in the second year. I mean, Zaire Franklin as a linebacker. Kenny Moore has consistently been one of the best slot corners in football. Cam Bynum on the back end, they were able to get from Minnesota. That's already a handful of players that I've named. And, there's other guys on that defense that are making plays, like Big Grover Stewart in the middle. He had an interception, a big man pick. I mean, I'm telling you, those guys are stepping up and making plays and being opportunistic, and that's what a Lou Anarumo defense is. Trust us, we know. We've have literally been fans of the Lou defense for the last 6 years until this one. But again, I mean, it's nice to see what the Colts are doing. I have no ill will toward the Colts. I love seeing them do well. And Danny Dimes is really playing into his name. Danny Dimes. Things are getting simpler for him, and he's making great plays, and he's even really dropping some ones in the bucket, making some tough throws. But again, the Colts playing with a lead. They're playing efficient. They're playing aggressive. They are the attacker. How can you counter back when you're down 21 points at home? You can't. The Colts are like that.
And it's not going to be easy for whoever has to go on the road in the playoffs in a weak AFC and face that Colts team. And I don't even think the Colts are going to fear having to go on the road in the divisional round. Now, here's the thing. They may not have to if they're the number 1 seed. So what if the Chiefs have to go play the Colts in the divisional round in Indianapolis? And Chase, we know Patrick Mahomes hasn't done well against the Colts in his career.
That's true. And again, it's an interesting scenario as maybe the Chiefs are a road team and the Colts host a playoff game as the 1 seed. And you're like, this is an interesting feel. How are these teams going to handle these situations that they haven't been in with these guys and coaches before? Now I want to roll into this, okay? The 425 games on Fox. We'll keep it real simple like this. So the Packers, they barely beat the Cardinals 27-23. The Cardinals usually give some teams some runs for their money out in the West. Again, the wild, wild West, they call it. But the Packers were narrowly, they narrowly escaped. They're the number one seed in the NFC now. But, I mean, are we concerned about Green Bay going forward?
No. They had plane issues, as you may have read, mechanical issues with their plane. It took them a long time to get out there. That's a tough, resilient win. They fell behind 13-3 late in the first half. They got a field goal, a 61-yard field goal. The Cardinals scored with 7 seconds left, and the Packers got a 63-yard field goal. Arizona keeps finding new ways to lose games. It's almost comical.
It actually is. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, they had every chance to win that game. They've had every chance to win at least 3 of these games. And they could be a complete flip themselves from what they are at 2-5 to 5-2, like everyone in the NFC West. It's insane. But I have to ask this, okay? So obviously you're not worried about the Packers, the number one seed in the NFC right now, 4-1-1, interesting record. They've got, I mean, we're going to talk about this later on in the week with that Packers-Steelers SNF game because
I can't wait.
It'll be awesome. But a team that you are, they say hit that like button, smash that like button, abuse that like button. You're doing all of that to the Washington Commanders panic button.
Well, I told you we'd be talking about by the end of the weekend that the D stands for drama in D.C. instead of in Dallas. And sure enough, that's exactly what we are doing. We are smashing that panic button because Jaden Daniels now has a hamstring injury. There's nobody to throw the ball to. Their defense stinks. We could have told you that coming into the season. I mean, I don't care if they're playing the Cowboys offense or not. And the fact that they let the Cowboys defense do what they did, you knew it was over when Marcus Mariota, and look, he tried to avoid a sack. Every quarterback's going to try and do that. Dude, if you're doing that and then throwing in Deron Bland's direction, you might as well just walk away because you know what's going to happen. That play was so gut-wrenching. I was sitting at Penn Station in Newport getting myself some dinner, okay? Yeah. And I saw the play happen, and I said, this is one of those where you take the palm of your hand, right, and you smash the heck out of that panic button.
You look for the white flag for that game and maybe the next couple because they look at when it looks couple, yes, but again,
well, yeah,
probably the rest of the year. But look at it. You've got the Chiefs on Monday Night Football on the road. Then you come back across to play against the Seahawks, who are rolling right now on Sunday Night Football. And then you welcome in the Detroit Lions at a 4:00 game on Fox. I mean, those 3 are brutal as itself. And then you go across the globe to take on the Dolphins. Okay, the Dolphins. But still, in Spain, weird things happen in those games. A bye week. Then you've got Broncos, Vikings, Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles. Oh, my gosh.
6-11. You're staring at 6-11. You're staring at the Cowboys maybe having a better record than you going into that Christmas Day matchup. Nobody would have thought that coming into the season.
Cowboys offense is rolling, and they have been rolling this entire season. The defense hasn't been great. They were good enough on Sunday. They're 3-3-1. They're a game and a half behind the Philadelphia Eagles, who they barely lost to in the opening night game. They've got a big-time game against the Denver Broncos on Sunday. Again, we'll preview that. It's going to be huge. I'm excited for that one. We'll preview that on the next show here in a couple of days, but I mean, the last thing we got to talk about before we kind of, hint a little bit with the NBA coming back on NBC, which we won't do a whole lot of because of time constraints. But I mean, the Texans, man, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. They're 2-4 right now. I mean, they went out there. I know they lost by only 8 against the Seahawks, but the Seahawks pretty much manhandled them the entire night. It just wasn't good. The Texans' upcoming schedule, they got the Niners, they have the Broncos, and they have the Jags. 3 games in a row. They could find themselves, and I'm not even, I don't want to say they lose all 3 of these games, but they could. Even if they go 1-2, they're 3-6.
And this year, 3-6 in the AFC South is not one of those things where you can say, oh, well, there's still a chance. No. The Colts are running away with this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you and I were kind of maybe on the fringe with the Houston Texans. So they won 2 straight games. They did look good, but they got absolutely smashed they got physically beaten last night by the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
And if you want to take the next step, you got to be able to go on the road and out-physical a team like Seattle.
Yep, and they did not do that. But again, that's week 7 for you. And, briefly, and obviously in 15 minutes, NBA Showtime comes on and Round Ball Rock gets to be playing. This is going to be fun. Again,
good double
man, I wasn't alive when the NBA on NBC was last on the air, which, again, I don't mean to date anybody, and I don't mean to date myself, but man, I'm excited to hear Mike Tirico on the call tonight and our good friend Noah Eagle later on.
Yes. Yeah, Noah's had quite the crazies. I was going through like his Tirico's Ian Eagle. Ian's had a little bit of a easier travel schedule, and then Kevin Harlan. But Noah's, Noah Eagle he's been to the West Coast twice. He's going to Nebraska next week for USC Nebraska. He's had a crazy schedule, and he was where was Big Ten Saturday Night? Oh, it was USC Notre Dame. So he has been traversing the country, and he did preseason on Peacock. He was the number 1 announcer for Peacock preseason. Yeah. So it's just, it's going to be listening to Round Ball Rock on the Today Show live this morning was exhilarating. It really was. And look, I was 3.5. So June 12th of 2002 was the last broadcast of an NBA game, anything on NBC. It was game 4 of the 2002 NBA Finals between the Lakers and the New Jersey Nets, ironically, who Noah and Ian Eagle work for now. Yeah. So that's kind of, and Noah's in LA, so that's kind of the two worlds colliding there. Yeah. I was Googling this last night, what the world was like in 2002. Kelly Clarkson won American Idol, the first season of American Idol. Tom Brady had just won his first Super Bowl. The Houston Texans were going into their first season of existence. The Memphis Grizzlies were in Vancouver. The Oklahoma City Thunder, who are the reigning NBA champions, were the Seattle Supersonics.
Whew. Yep. That's a way to end the show, because talk about a blast from the past, and it's going to be a reality tonight. I can't wait to see what the NBA and NBC's got. So. Can't
wait either. The conversations, Insights to Excellence, Mike Tirico and Michael Jordan, 2 GOATs of their professions.
Please watch that segment
on NBC. This is waiting all day for Sunday night, but we are big basketball fans. Chase, you're a former college basketball player. Like, this has to be an exciting night for you.
Yeah, it is. Again, I love Sunday Night Football. I love what NBC does with their sports. I love basketball. There's a lot of things that are coming together, especially on this, late October night. So
So let me ask you this for our listeners: are we doing a show before Thursday night? It's okay if we're not, but we'll definitely do one on Friday.
Definitely not before Thursday night. Okay. There is no chance.
Well, let's just briefly mention Thursday Night Football this week. It's Minnesota and the Chargers, the only interconference matchup on Prime Video's regular season schedule. It's an interesting matchup, Chase. 2 teams kind of, you don't really know who they are. They're kind of struggling right now. We don't know who's starting the quarterback for the Vikings. At least I haven't heard who's starting. I haven't seen who's starting. Could be Carson Wentz. Could be J.J. McCarthy.
I would lean Chargers in this home game. I know obviously their offensive line situation looks really bad right now with a lot of injuries, especially coming on to a short week. But again, Minnesota, I don't trust Carson Wentz. And obviously JJ McCarthy's only played 2 NFL games, and he looked really good in one game. He looked bad in another game, and that would be against his former head coach if he started.
It would. It'd be compelling.
Pretty well. So
Chargers need to win this game. They need to win this game.
They need it really bad. Both of these teams need it badly, but the Chargers need this one.
But if they do, they're 5-3. Their next game is at Tennessee, which they should win. So they get to 6-3 before that Sunday Night Football and NBC game against the Steelers in Week 10.
Yeah. So it's going to be a big Thursday night. I'm excited to see a lot of questions that we could get some answers to. But with that being said, that's Alex Frank. I'm Chase Yantz, and we'll see you guys next time on the Waiting All Day for SNF Podcast.